How's everyone doing tonight? I almost forgot my stage name. I was like, wow, who's that? I hope they're great. Yeah, so I just turned 27 last week. According to all my rewards, I've turned 27 every day this month. So I keep getting freebies. Yeah, so now that I've turned 27, I've gotten like a lot of wisdom, more wisdom on dating. Before I just wanted a guy who had like ambition and drive, and now I've learned to lower my standards to have a guy who can just drive. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I've had to start looking at guys' IDs now when I date them, because the other guy kind of like magicked his age. So, yep. I check IDs now, like I'm getting people into a club. Yep. And now, yeah, with being 27, I've learned to be a bit more, starting to be a bit more wise too. I go to this mall and they sell these deep fried Oreos, and I usually don't buy them. I just grab the sample and I keep going on to my day. And then one time, the guy grabbed the tray. He's like, "You already know what these taste like." But it was my birthday. I was like, "Today's my birthday." He's like, "No cap." I was like, "No, all facts." And yeah, so he gave me that time. And then a couple months passed, and he's like, I saw him again. He's like, "Hey, friend." I'm like, "What do you mean, friend? We're enemies now." And he's like, "Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen you." And I was like, "Yeah, it's been a long time." So he goes to the back. He's like, "I have a gift for you." So he brings out a small container of deep fried Oreos. And I'm like, "Oh, that's sweet." And then he takes a rose out of the vase that was there. And then he gives it to me. He's like, "All I ask for you is a small tip." I'm like, "Oh, that's nice. I don't actually have cash on me. Is it okay if I just use my credit card?" He's like, "Yeah, that's fine." And then he rings it up. Why is it at full price? It's $10. I'm like, I just sit there. I'm like, just looking at it. I'm like, I'm hungry. So I go ahead and pay for it. And then fast forward a year later, I go back there with my sister to confront him, and while she's like walking around, he's like, "Hey, do you want a smoothie?" I'm like, "Yeah, let me try a little bit." So he gives me a sample of the smoothie, and then he turns around the thing he used to pay, and then it's like full price. So yeah, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, it's yes, ma'am. And also, just to share a little bit about me, I'm a woman in STEM. Thank you. I knew I should pursue STEM once I started trying to download movies on my family laptop. And I was like, I should make a living out of this. So I became a data analyst, and it's really, it's kind of helped me in situations outside of work. Like, for example, I went to an escape room with some friends recently, and we need to crack this code to be able to leave the room. And all my friends were trying to figure it out. So we figured out the clues. Okay, so for example, we realized there's 2 dinosaurs in the room. So that's the first number. There's 3 sets of drums, so that should be the 3rd number. And then there's 4 water bottles or something. And we kept trying it in that order. And I was like, guys, you're not thinking about this right. And so I go up to the safe, and I started putting in numbers, and they're like, and I get it on the first try, and they're like, "Angie, how did you figure it out?" I'm like, this is something I learned very early on as a data science major in college, I guess. And also, with the rise of ChatGPT, it's made being a woman in STEM a little bit easier too. I had to break up with a guy I was dating, and I was talking to my girl, I was like, I don't know what to say at all. Should I use ChatGPT? So I actually consulted. I was like, I need you to come up with some messages. So it's really helpful for breaking up with people. Yeah, been working on my social skills a little bit. So I remember my therapist was like, "Yeah, just try going up to people and talking to them." And I did that out of Burlington. A guy was talking to this girl he came in with, and he brought out a sweater, and he was like, "Wow, this is he was like, what do you think about this, to the girl he was talking to? And me coming in, I was like, hi. I was like, yeah, what's the occasion? And he's like, he takes the sweater and he's like, ma'am, with all due respect, it's none of your business. So that was the day I learned there is worse things they can say than no. Yes, and I learned maybe I should get a refund on my therapy too. And I called customer service too recently because I got a parking ticket, and I was like, hey, I was like, maybe using my therapy that I should charge back. I was like, okay, if I ask nicely, maybe they'll let me appeal the ticket. And I was like, okay. I was like, hey, I didn't know I couldn't park here. I actually did. But yeah, she's like, ma'am. I was like, no. I was like, hey, do you think this first time? And then she starts getting angry. She's like, ma'am, I will not charge this. I will not return the fee for you. And she starts screaming at me, and I'm like, and I have to be a customer service rep. I'm like, ma'am, please, I'm doing all I can. So that was well, I'm not being a woman in STEM, I'm also working in customer service too. So yeah, I like having multiple jobs. Oh, but one job I found out I'm definitely not gonna have is working in Google. They have these networking events and you can just sign up and just show up to them. So she said, I go up to them kind of late. I'm Nigerian, so I'm on my own time. So I come like 2 hours after they start. I'm like, they'll let me in. And other people came in late, and then the security guard comes in and was like, yeah, you guys were supposed to register 48 hours in advance. I'm like, oh, I registered this morning. So they're like, I was like, oh, we can still go into the event. They're like, no, it's due to the fire marshal code, you can't come in. And then they bring more security guards. I'm like, well, I'll leave peacefully. You don't gotta bring your whole crew to take me out. And okay, I was like, okay, that's fine. I do that once, and then I was at a business trip in Washington, D.C. I was like, okay, and they had another Google event. I was like, okay, if I can't get into Google in Atlanta, I can get into Google in D.C. There's no paper trail over there. And again, they're like, yeah. I was like, and this time someone else signs up for me, so I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about the whole sign-up time. And then another time, it's not good, I realized, when Google employees come up to me, they're like, yeah, it turns out they forgot to sign you guys up. I'm like, can I at least look around? Or like, no, we're gonna call you a cab to get out of here. And so I'm still trying to figure out what I did at Google that I'm on like the no, don't let her in list. So if you guys find out, please let me know. So yeah, thank you guys for coming out tonight. I almost didn't show up, but I already came halfway here and I was like, I paid for gas. I have no material, but we'll figure this out. I was like, I already work as a data analyst. If I can figure it out there, I can kind of figure it out here too. And you guys have been really great tonight. Thank you.